the vote. Women can dress, they love society. Women have cash with its variety. Women can pray with sweetest piety. Why are they wanting the vote? Women have reared all the sons of the brave. Women have shared in the burdens they gave. Women have labored your country to save. That's why we're wanting the vote. Oh dear, what can the matter be? Dear, dear, what can the matter be? Oh dear, what can the matter be when men want every vote?
I am Carrie Chapman Catt, and I welcome you here tonight. 100 years ago today, the 19th Amendment was ratified, giving women the right to vote.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendments.
The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. That's it, folks. One simple sentence. The right to vote shall not be denied on account of sex. We want to talk to you about the 19th Amendment. Believe it or not, that little sentence took 70 years to become law, and it all started way back before the Civil War in 1848 in the Seneca Falls Conference in New York.
I helped organize that conference.
Yes, you did. Tell the people who you are.
My name is Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and I'm the one who gets to ring the bell.
And I'm her co-conspirator, Susan B. Anthony. I'm the one you've probably heard of.
And what happened at the conference?
Well, we all gathered in Seneca Falls, New York, to discuss women's rights. And there I laid out my declaration of sentiments, explaining how women are oppressed.
A declaration of sentiments. And what were some of those sentiments?
Well, I started with, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I borrowed that bit from Thomas Jefferson. It seems he forgot to include women.
A common oversight at the time.
And then I declared all the wrongs that men have perpetrated against women.
Such as?
Well, he has compelled us to submit to laws in the formation of which we have no voice, and withheld from us rights which are given to the most ignorant and degraded men, both natives and foreigners.
Even the lowest men have more say than the most righteous woman.
He has monopolized nearly all the profitable employments, and from those we are permitted to follow, we receive less than men. He has also denied us the facilities for obtaining a thorough education, all colleges being closed against us.
We can't get any good jobs or an education.
If we're married, we are civilly dead in the eye of the law. He has taken from us all right and property, even to the wages we earn.
Our husbands own everything we make. That's why I don't have one.
By the laws of coverture, we are compelled to promise obedience to our husband. He becomes, to all intents and purposes, our master, the law giving him power to deprive us of our liberty and to administer chastisement.
Our husbands are free to beat us if they wish. That's another why I don't have one.
He also does not permit us to exercise our inalienable right to the elective franchise.
That means we can't vote.
Mentellus 'tis fit that wives should submit to their husbands submissively weakly, though whatever they say their wives should obey, unquestioning, stupidly, meekly. Our husbands would make us their own dictum take, without ever a wherefore or why for it. But I don't, and I can't, and I won't, and I shan't. No, I will speak my mind if I die for it. For we know it's all fudge to say man's the best judge of what should be and shouldn't, and so on. Though woman should bow, nor attempt to say how she considers that matters should go on. I never yet gave up myself as a slave, however my husband might try for it. For I don't, and I can't, and I won't, and I shan't. No, I will speak my mind if I die for it. I know ladies, I hope, who with husbands do cope with the rights of the sex will not trifle. We all, if we choose, our tongues but do use, can all opposition soon stifle. Let man, if he will, then bid us be still and silent, a price he'll pay high for it. For we can't and we won't, and we shan't and we don't. Let us all speak our minds if we die for it.
Now, hold on a minute. Just a forsaken minute.
Who are you?
Me? I'm a naysayer. All through history, everywhere progress rears its ugly head, some naysayer like me is always there to tell you, nay, you can't do that, or nay, it's not the custom, or nay, you're rocking the boat, or nay, that'll lead to the end of society and all of civilization.
I take it you don't like my sentiments?
Nay! I'm fond of the sentiments. Women folk have some legitimate complaints, but I am concerned about one thing.
What is that?
That part where you mentioned the elective franchise.
Giving women the vote?
Nay! That's the one. Why would you go and suggest a preposterous thing like that? Why would you want to sully womanhood with the filth of politics?
The same reason America fought against England. We women pay taxes and get no representation.
But women ought to remain in her proper sphere. Housekeeping, childcare, religion. Woman is the divinely appointed guardian of the home. Why complain of your dependence when you occupy such a lofty position as wife, mother, and angel? It is the holiest, most responsible and queen-like position assigned to mortals. You rule the private realm, and men rule the public realm. Why, if women should vote, they might form a new party of their own. A woman's party. And that would pit women against men, and that would be more dangerous than labor against capital. It would denature both men and women. It would masculinize women and feminize men. Why, the history of civilization has proven that a weakening of the manpower of nations has been but a pre-runner of decadence. You're asking for emancipation from the laws of nature.
It will change the nature of one thing very much. That is the financial position of woman. It will place her in a position where she can earn her own way and go out into the world in equal competition for the struggle for life, so that she shall not be compelled to take such positions as men choose to accord her, and take such pay as men choose to give her.
So, if we affirm a woman's right to vote and to become teachers, legislators, lawyers, clergy, and do all that men now do, should we also resolve that men wash dishes, handle the broom, darn socks, wear trinkets, and look beautiful? Nay! A vote for federal suffrage is a vote for organized female nagging forever.
But why should we legally recognize all the drunkards and idiots, the horse-racing, rum-selling rowdies, the ignorant foreigners and silly boys, while women are thrust from all the rights that belong to citizens? The right is ours, we must have it, and we will use it.
Women have no right to vote. Because in time of war, you are not required to bear arms.
Yes, but women bear armies.
Oh, go boil your shirt. You naysayers get my goat. Always disagreeing and you got no good reason for it.
I have a neighbor, one of those not very hard to find, who know it all without debate and never change their mind. I asked him what of woman's rights, he said in tone severe, my mind on that is all made up, keep woman in her sphere. I saw a man in tattered called forth from the grog shop come. He squandered all his cash for drink and starved his wife at home. I asked him, should not woman vote? He answered with a sneer, to my wife to lower place, keep woman in her sphere. I met an honest, thoughtful man not many days ago, who pondered all deep human law, the honest truth to know. I asked him, what of woman's cause? The answer came sincere.
Her rights are just the same as mine. Let woman choose her sphere.
Look, you call this convention to address women's rights, and I'm with you on everything but suffrage. If you persist in this farce, you'll make this convention ridiculous. Nobody will take us seriously.
Right is of no sex.
Frederick Douglass.
That's right. I am the former slave and famed orator, Frederick Douglass, and I have something to say about women's suffrage. All that distinguishes man as an intelligent and accountable being is equally true of woman. And if that government is only just, which governs by the free consent of the governed, there can be no reason in the world for denying to woman the exercise of the elective franchise, or a hand in making and administering the laws of the land.
Nay! I can't argue with Frederick Douglass. Give women the vote.
Why can't all the naysayers be that easy to convince?
Frederick Douglass has done an amazing job, and he's being recognized more and more, I notice.
Mr. Douglass is persuasive. He's always supported women's suffrage.
Just as we always supported the abolition of slavery.
Oh?
During the Civil War, we led a petition drive to end slavery.
A petition drive was the only political action a woman was permitted to do.
We collected 400,000 signatures. It was the most signatures ever presented to
Those
Congress.
signatures helped Congress pass the 13th Amendment.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendment. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
To put it simply, slavery was abolished. Emancipation!
Hold on. You can't just skip over the whole Civil War like that.
Who are you? Another naysayer?
My name is Lucy Stone, and I've been fighting for the abolition of slavery since long before the war.
Well, it might help if we knew more about you.
Of course. I guess I'm mostly known for not giving up my name when I got married, and we removed the word obey from our wedding vows. Wife should no more take her husband's name than he hers. Even in your time, such people are called Lucy Stoners.
Well, and what about the Civil War?
It was abolition that sowed the seeds for the women's movement. We must not forget that abolition is our primary cause. We have to break stronger fetters than those that held the slave. They need immediate and complete civil rights. Putting an end to slavery is just the beginning.
Is it true that Congress intends to pass an amendment giving black men the vote and not women?
Yes,
And you support this?
of course. It's why the war was fought. It's why so many died. And it's why we've crusaded for all these years.
All our abolitionist friends said they'd support women's rights, and they betrayed us. All they really care about is the slavery issue. If they win the vote for ex-slaves, they'll promptly forget about us.
Our cause must not get in the way of progress for Black people. This country can only deal with one issue at a time.
But it is one issue: universal suffrage, equality for all, votes for all, man, woman, black, white.
Most people don't see it that way. This is the Negro's hour. Women's suffrage will come later.
If we give black men the vote and not women, It'll be another 50 years before we're called equal.
Worse than that, it would put 2 million black men in the position of tyrants over 2 million black women, who until now had at least been the equals of the men at their side.
If you will not give the whole loaf of justice to the entire people, if you're determined to extend the suffrage piece by piece, then at very least give it first to women, to the most intelligent and capable of women at least, because in the present state of government, it is intelligence and morality which is needed.
You question the morality of the abolitionists.
I don't question your morality, but I do question where your priorities lie.
I was a woman before I was an abolitionist. I plead not for the slave only, but for suffering humanity everywhere. And I do mean to labor for the elevation of our sex. But now I must appeal to the will of the slave, his clanking chains, and his utter need.
You would make the slaves of yesterday the lawmakers of today, many of whom cannot even read the Declaration of Independence or Webster's spelling book, making laws for the daughters of Adams and Jefferson, women of wealth and education. If women are not given the vote along with black men, then I cannot support such an amendment. In fact, I will do all I can to oppose it.
You would deny the vote to Negroes. Then you are no better than the white man.
No better. A woman knows what it is to be born to contempt, to inferiority, to degradation. Woman is more fully identified with the slave than a white man can possibly be. We early learn the misfortune of being born to the heir of crown of thorns, to martyrdom, to womanhood. For while the man is born to do whatever he can, for the woman and the Negro, there is no such privilege.
If I may say in this manner, if I may have a say in this matter.
Frederick Douglass.
Yes, please, speak up.
I am sympathetic with your view, Elizabeth, but with us, suffrage is a matter of life and death. When women are hunted down or dragged from their houses and hung from lampposts, when their children are torn from their arms and their brains dashed out upon the pavement, when they are objects of insult and outrage at every turn, when they are in danger of having their homes burnt down over their heads, when their children are not allowed to enter schools, then you will have an urgency to obtain the ballot equal to our own.
But doesn't this apply to the black woman as well?
Yes, but not because she is a woman, but because she is black.
Well, I disagree.
You can't disagree with Frederick Douglass.
But I do. Respectfully, women needs a voice in this world. The male element is a destructive force, stern, selfish, aggrandizing, loving war, violence, conquest, acquisition, breeding in the material and moral world alike, discord, disorder, disease, and death. The idea strengthens at every step that woman was created for no higher purpose than to gratify the lust of man. Society as organized today is one grand rape of womanhood under the manpower, and marriage is nothing more than legalized prostitution.
You won't settle for anything less than a revolution.
That's right. Woman has never been consulted from the time of Moses down to present day. Woman has never been thought of as anything other than a piece of property to be disposed at the will and pleasure of man. Nothing short of revolution will change things.
There are many of us that do not oppose this amendment or like the tone of a revolution. We've worked so hard just to get where we are, and we need to all work in harmony for suffrage, or it will fail.
Then let it fail. These statesmen who claim to be liberal would establish an aristocracy based on sex alone. I won't have it.
It's time to ring the bell.
Well, let Mrs. Lucy Stone do it if she wants her amendment.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendment.
The 15th Amendment.
The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
All we had to do was add the word sex to that list.
Hold on a minute. Maybe we don't have to.
What do you mean?
Citizens of the United States. Maybe we should look at the amendment before this one.
the 14th Amendment.
We haven't read that one yet.
Well, let's read it. 2 years prior. Hey, ring that bell.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendment.
All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, there's a whole lot more to this amendment, including the only mention of male citizens in the whole Constitution. But the important part here is Article 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States. It doesn't say all men, it says all persons. Well, I'm a person, and I was born here, so I guess that makes me a citizen too.
And the 15th Amendment says the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged.
Exactly, which means if I'm a citizen, they can't deny my vote just because I'm a woman.
I think we've got them. All we have to do is put it to the test and get the courts to agree that the law says what it says.
Yeah. The next election, I led a group of women right down to the ballot box and we cast our votes. I voted for Civil War hero Ulysses S. Grant.
Excuse me, Miss Anthony, but I have a warrant for your arrest for knowingly, wrongfully, and unlawfully voting in a federal election.
Fine. Let's go.
Oh no, Miss Anthony, there's no need for that. If you will just kindly come visit the office of the United States Commissioner at your convenience, I'm sure we can sort this out.
Is this your usual method of serving a warrant?
This is not the usual warrant.
Well, I expect no special treatment. I would rather be imprisoned than give up my sacred right to vote. I demand you take me to the commissioner at once.
If you insist, but there's no need for shackles. Just come along.
Susan's trial was set for July. So before the trial, she toured every town and village in Monroe County, giving her lecture.
It was called, Is It a Crime for Citizens of the United States to Vote?
And by the time the date of the trial arrived, they couldn't find a single neutral juror. They had to move the trial to another county, where Anthony finally had her day in court.
In front of an all-male jury, of course.
All rise. The Honorable Judge Naysayer presiding.
Nay, you may be seated. Let it be known that the accused, Miss Susan B. Anthony, without having a lawful right to vote in her election district, being then and there a person of the female sex, and she, the said Susan B. Anthony, then and there contrary to the statute of the United States of America, in such cases made and provided, and against the peace of the United States of America, did knowingly and unlawfully vote.
Your Honor.
Nay, a woman may not testify on her behalf. They are incompetent to do so.
But, Your Honor.
I instruct the jury to find the defendant guilty.
Your Honor. In your ordered verdict of guilty, you have trampled underfoot every vital principle of our government. My natural rights, my civil rights, my political rights, my judicial rights are all alike ignored, robbed of the fundamental privilege of citizenship.
The court cannot allow the prisoner to go on.
Your denial of my citizen's right to vote is the denial of my right of consent as one of the governed, the denial of my right of a trial by jury of my peers as an offender against law, the denial of my right to representation as one of the taxed, therefore the denial of my sacred right to life, liberty, and property.
The sentence of the court is that you pay a fine of $100.
Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. I will never pay a single dollar of your unjust penalty. And I never did.
Oh, that was the greatest judicial outrage history has ever recorded. You were convicted before we had a hearing, and the trial was a mere farce.
Perhaps. But in the end, I won because I had voted. Good Lord, I voted.
Yeah, you did.
The American Constitution survived the shock. The world jogged on as before, and they never came after that $100.
Many others voted and were arrested as well. And eventually, one of the cases made it to the Supreme Court. Their ruling was unanimous.
Citizenship merely means membership in a nation and nothing more. And the amendments did not give women the right to vote. That is for the states to decide.
So, it's up to the states, is it?
It's a disaster if United States citizenship does not carry with it the right to vote in every state in this union. There will be no end to the trickery and cunning devices to exclude one and another class of citizens from the right of suffrage.
Well, what can we do?
Well, I won't let the Supreme Court stop us. I'm going to form a national organization, the Women's Suffrage Association, devoted to winning a constitutional amendment and all other female reforms that are needed. Equal pay, 8-hour workday, divorce reform.
Mrs. Stanton, you act zealously and constantly. That is your strength, but I will criticize by superior action. If the Supreme Court says the states decide, then I'm going to create my own national organization, the American Women's Suffrage Association. And we're going to push for women's suffrage in every single state of the Union. There are too many who do not approve of your methods.
Fine with me, and best of luck to you.
What about you?
I'm with Lizzie, if only because she can't tour and lecture and raise her 7 kids at the same time, and I can't write a speech to save my life. We work together. She forges the lightning bolts, and I throw them.
And throw lightning bolts she did. We lobbied Congress, and in short order, we were called to Washington, D.C. to introduce the Women's Suffrage Amendment before Congress. Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendment.
But we already read that one.
But it's the important one. It's what this whole show is about. Let's read it again. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
The amendment failed to pass the committee.
Thunderation.
In fact, it sat in that committee for almost 10 years before finally making it to the Senate floor in 1887, where it was promptly voted down.
It may look hopeless, but we're not letting our tail down.
The amendment was reintroduced in each congressional session for the next 30 years.
It's the states that decide who gets to vote, so you should be going to the states.
We've been to the states. I've traveled by train, stage, ferry, horseback, muleback, and hoofed it to every village, settlement, and town that would listen to me speak on women's suffrage.
It's the states that passed the laws saying women couldn't vote in the first place.
And even if we manage to gain a state or two, the South will never give women the vote.
But any state you win builds support for an amendment. It must be proven first in the states. There must be at least one of our 37 states that will take up our cause.
Howdy, Miss Stone. I come from the Wyoming Territory, and we'd like to give women the vote.
Wyoming Territory? But why?
Well, you see, we've only got one woman for every 6 men out there. So I figured if maybe we let them vote, we'd have more of them move out west.
How virtuous of you.
Well, we don't have much else to offer out on the frontier. The necessities of daily life overshadow the niceties. But I think we believe a woman's voice is equal to a man's. A white man's, anyway.
There you go, ladies. Thanks of lonely prospectors in Wyoming Territory has become the first government in the country to give women the vote.
And when Washington, D.C. told us that we would have to give up the women's vote if we wanted to become a state, well, we said we would stay out of the Union 100 years rather than come in without our women. And it worked. In 1890, Wyoming became the first state where women could vote. In our western home we sit, thinking eastern friends of you and the noble cause to which you give your might. And our eyes with joy are lit as we read of all you do, and we're proud of you, our sisters dear, tonight. Trump, we're onward marching. Good luck, comrades, on the way. And beneath the golden glow of the suffrage flag, we know you will join us on the next election day.
From the east we greetings send, where we work for freedom's day, and we look to you, O children of our pride. With your own our voices blend, and our hearts are light and gay, for we hope to take our place soon at your side. Tramp, 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 we're onward marching. Good luck, comrades, on the way. And beneath the golden glow of the suffrage flag, we know we will join you on the next election day. "42 years after the Seneca Falls Convention, 42 years of publishing article after article and traveling from one end of the continent to the other, all of that for just one state.
Do we have to work 42 years for each state? It's such a waste.
Oh, it isn't a waste. Your work has inspired a generation of young women to continue the fight. This is Lucy Stone's daughter, Alice Stone Blackwell.
My mother passed away in 1893, but I'm following in her footsteps, and I think it's time for us to end the rivalry between our two organizations. We need to work together for all of women's rights, including the right to vote.
Maybe you're right. Maybe the states are the way to go.
Progress is coming from the West. If we keep pushing, we can get more women to the polls, even if they're only allowed to vote for the school board.
We're not spring chickens anymore. We can't travel and campaign like we used to.
Maybe we can't, but if Lucy Stone's daughter can take up the cause, my daughter can too.
Daughters of freedom, the ballot be yours. Wield it with wisdom, your hope secures. Rights that are equal, this ye claim. Right by your honor, fair your fame. Sunder the fetters custom hath made. Come from the valley, hill, and glade. Come from the valley, hill, and glade.
I am Harriet Stanton Blatch, and I'm ready to devote my life to helping you.
Let's go, partner. On to the states.
So by the turn of the century, Colorado, Utah, and Idaho had joined Wyoming in giving women the right to vote. 4 states had led the way.
We launched 479 efforts on state legislatures and 56 full-scale statewide campaigns.
Most of them ended in defeat.
It wasn't easy, but we kept pushing until the West fell.
Washington,
California,
Arizona,
Nevada,
Wyoming,
Kansas.
Well, surprise, surprise. The country didn't fall into despair just because of a few women voters out west.
What happened in 1906?
Well, that was the year you passed on, Susan.
Is that so? Well, to think I spent my whole life struggling to give women the vote and never lived to see it happen. To die without it seems so cruel.
When suffrage gets ratified, we're going to call it the Susan B. Anthony Amendment in your honor, so that your name lives on.
You know, once I was the most hated and reviled of women. I encountered riotous mobs and was hung in effigy. Now in my old age, it seems as if everybody loves me. I little dreamed that I would be compelled to leave this battle to another generation of women, but my heart is filled with joy to know that you enter upon this task equipped with a college education, with business experience, with the fully admitted right to speak in public, all of which were denied to us 50 years ago.
You were but a handful, and now we have an army. There is but one point to gain: suffrage.
I have no doubt you will carry our cause to victory.
So, who will you play now?
Me? I don't have a daughter to take after me, or a son, for that matter. I renounced marriage and my family life for the cause of suffrage, and so I could be my own person. My legacy ends here.
But you could be anyone you want.
Anyone? Well, I suppose I could be Alice Paul. She's a Quaker, like me, and Quakers always saw women as equals.
Oh, I'm not sure you want to be Alice Paul.
Why not?
Well, she went to England and got involved in the suffrage movement over there, and they do things differently in England.
In what way?
The English suffragists are very militant. They break windows. They disrupt meetings. They set off bombs. They get arrested. If she tries any of that here, it could easily ruin all of our progress.
Oh, mercy me. I've been arrested too. It sounds like just the kind of pot stirring our kettle needs. All right, young women, I've done my part. Now roll up your sleeves, set your mind to making history, and wage such a fight that the whole world will respect our sex. Make success seem natural and inexorable. Organize, educate, agitate.
Shout, shout, up with your song, cry with the wind, for the dawn is breaking. March, march, swing you along, white blows our banner and hope is waking. Song with its story, dreams with their glory, low they call, and glad is their word. Loud, loud, louder it swells, thunder of freedom, the voice of the Lord.
I'm Alice Paul, and the way to win an amendment is to put pressure on President Naysayer.
There is nothing you can say to change his mind.
That's why we need deeds, not words. We are going to march on Washington.
Are you mad? They'll arrest you.
There will be too many of us to arrest. We'll show up at his inauguration with an army of women marching in unison right down Pennsylvania Avenue like a military parade. We'll show him that we cannot be ignored. It's not hard to change a politician's mind.
But no one has ever held a political demonstration in the nation's capital.
I don't know why. It seems like the ideal place to do it.
Life, strife, these two are one. Not can you win, but by faith and daring on. What have ye done but for the work of today preparing? Firm in reliance, laugh in defiance, laugh in hope, for sure is march, many as one, shoulder to shoulder and friend to friend.
We organized a grand spectacle of a parade with 26 floats, 6 golden chariots, 10 marching bands, and nearly 10,000 participants led by a woman on a white horse.
People are taunting the
They're
marchers.
blocking the road.
Where are the police?
They're refusing to help.
There was a riot. Hundreds were injured.
I do not support these tactics. We were making progress, state by state, but this push for an amendment is going to cause a backlash.
When you put your hand to the plow, you can't put it down until you get to the end of the row.
Oh, you're not going to back down?
You have to keep pressure on the president. We're going to picket the White House.
We are the silent sentinels.
We will stand at the gate of the White House so that President Naysayer will never forget the women at his front door.
We were ignored at first.
Then we were mocked, ridiculed, and pelted with rotten fruit.
But many supported our cause, bringing us warm drinks, holding up our banners, and donating money to our cause. We maintained our constant vigil for 2 years.
We're camping tonight on the White House grounds. Give us a rousing cheer. Our golden flag we hold aloft. Of cops we have no fear. Many of the pickets are weary tonight, wishing for the war to cease. Many are the achings and frostbites too. It's no life of ease. Camping tonight, camping tonight, camping on the White House grounds.
All right, lady, you're under arrest.
What for?
Obstruction of traffic.
A $10 fine or 3 days in jail.
Well, I choose jail.
Here you go.
What's this?
Everyone that goes to jail gets a special pin to wear as a badge of honor.
The jails are filling up. They're putting us in the workhouses.
They keep arresting more women and giving longer sentences.
The conditions are appalling, and several women have been beaten. Doesn't anybody care?
I was arrested on October 20th, 1917, and sentenced to 7 months in prison.
That was not the end of our protest. The women prisoners went on a hunger strike. Since we refused to eat, the prison doctors force-fed us by inserting a tube in her nose and down her throat, pouring in a mixture of milk and raw eggs. This was done twice a day. When the press reported what happened, opinions on the suffrage movement changed. People were angry, and soon after we were all released from prison after only 5 weeks. Then President Naysayer announced his support for women's suffrage.
Women's suffrage is going to prevail, and it is a very superficial and ignorant view of it which attributes it to mere social unrest. It is not merely because the women are discontented. It is because the women have seen visions of duty, and that is something which we not only cannot resist, but if we be true Americans, we do not wish to resist.
Our actions help speed the day.
Congress finally passed the amendment in 1919.
Now don't get too excited. In case you don't remember how it all works, Congress passing the amendment is just the first step. After that, it must be ratified by 3/4 of the states. Of course, by 1919, our country had 48 states, which meant we had to get 36 state senates to vote for the amendment. Some of the states were so eager to support women's suffrage that by the end of the year, 22 states had ratified it.
But other states were more reluctant. 1920 was an election year. Some politicians felt if they voted to pass women's suffrage, those newly enfranchised women would vote for them in the election. Others didn't want to add such a wild card to their campaigns. But we kept pushing until we had 35 states. We only needed one more to pass the amendment.
Unfortunately, the only states left to vote for suffrage are in the South.
Why is it always the South?
Isn't it time for the South to quit being the tail end of creation?
It's all down to two southern states, North Carolina and Tennessee.
The North Carolina Senate refuses to consider the amendment during an election year.
That leaves Tennessee to place a capstone on the Temple of Justice.
Well, you've never seen such a circus as that summer in Nashville. Supporters and naysayers came from all over the country, descended on the state capitol to ply the senators with pleas and advice, legal arguments, and illegal booze. Some hooey about states' rights, and the attention of a lot of pretty women.
Oh, townsmen, have you heard the cry that's lately noised about? The suffragists antis turn the city inside out, with meetings here and meetings there to turn the same men's head. Before we men will pass the votes to them instead. I met an ardent churchman and he wildly grasped my hand. He said, what will become of all the good wrought in this land? The women in our parishes refuse to work or pay unless they have a voice and vote on church election day. I turned and hustled onward when I heard another shout. The suffragists are headed down the street this way, look out! With bands and propaganda, they will fairly rope you in. To treat fellow men without for ear, this I say is a sin. What rights have I that you would like I to their leader said? We covet none of yours, sir, confiscate our own instead. We're the most persistent creatures, what use to tell us nay? We'll win or vote or know the reason on election day. The air was quiet for a while, then came an awful wail. The antis now are on the job, their work would turn you pale. Back to the home, all women kindly ordered with a rush. For officers and industry, there falls a frightful hush. What trick is this? The men demand, and brave and fiercely swear. With smashing glass for deviltry, it will not in compare. To suffragists we now will bring back our labor prey, and you shall have my ballot by the next election day.
We put everything we had into Tennessee, but the naysayers were out in full force, including the state senators.
Beware, men of the South, nay, heed not the song of the suffrage siren, seal your ears against her vocal wiles.
Woman's suffrage means reopening the entire Negro suffrage question. Loss of states' rights, another period of Reconstruction horrors, which will introduce a set of female carpetbaggers as bad as their male prototypes of the 60s.
That's right, Senator. Nothing can be gained by woman's suffrage, and much may be lost.
I never understood why a woman could be against the vote.
Well, there are those of us that oppose women's suffrage on principle, and those that approve but oppose the federal amendments and the trampling of states' rights.
And which one are you?
Oh, I, of course, am a woman of principle.
We can't force women's suffrage upon states that don't want it.
We are living in perilous times. The destroyers are at work. The wreckers are at our homes. You are nothing more than an anarchist.
That's a fabrication.
Did you not say that suffrage knows no bias of race, color, or sex?
Yes, but...
And you have entertained Negroes in your home and been entertained in Negro homes like that of Mr. Frederick Douglass.
Oh, This is just a malicious appeal to sectional prejudice.
Within a very few years after this amendment has passed, you will find that Congress will compel we people of the South to give to the Negro men and women their full rights at the ballot box. Then you will find many of your counties sending up Negro representatives to this House, just as they did 50 years ago after the 15th Amendment.
You are working to destroy the states and enslave the American people. The federal suffrage amendment is a deliberate conspiracy to crush the will of the American public.
If the present legislature ratifies, it will be due to the socialist influences at work on them.
There's no socialism among Tennessee women.
Tennessee has the opportunity to immortalize itself as the savior of the Republic and redeem the principle of true representation of our Union of States, without which American democracy must perish from the earth. And I do it's just go. The democracy, American style, the most important democracy in the world there is.
When they finally got to voting, the whole question of women's suffrage ended up tied at 48 to 48. And it all came down to one deciding vote. That vote fell to Senator Naysayer. He was only 24 years old, the youngest member of the Tennessee Senate.
You have to understand, I have no wish to live under a petticoat government, so of course I tell everyone I'm anti-suffrage. But shucks, you all know how this ends. You see, earlier today, I received a letter from my widowed mother back home.
Dear son, wish you were here. We've had nothing but rain since you left.
She always complains about the rain because she can't take the Ford out when it's wet.
We haven't had the car out since you left. And if this rainy weather does not let up, I fear we will have to stay at home the rest of the summer.
See what I mean?
I hope you've seen enough of politicians to know that it is not one of the greatest things to be one. But write Mother every time you have a chance, for I'm always looking for a letter when you are away. Oh, and don't forget to be a good boy and help Mrs. Cat with her rats. She's the one that put rat in ratification.
That's a funny one, Ma.
I've been watching to see how you stood, and I've not seen anything yet. Vote for suffrage and don't keep them in doubt.
I know I promised the Aunt Ties that I'd vote nay, but I also know that a mother's advice is always safest for a boy to follow. My mother wanted me to vote for ratification, and I would be ashamed to admit that my mother or my sisters or my future wife were not as capable of exercising the ballot as I am. So I said, let them vote.
And that's how the Susan B. Anthony Amendment was passed.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendment.
We read it once, we read it twice. Let's read it one more time.
One more time, the 19th Amendment. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Of course, we weren't the only women who won the vote. There were many others who took part. Women like Ida B. Wells, Lucretia Mott, Lucy Burns, Victoria Woodhull, Sojourner Truth, Amelia Bloomer, a long galaxy of great women. It took every woman that marched or picketed or volunteered, and every man that supported his wife, and every male politician that voted for the amendment, and every person around the world that gave women the right to vote in their own country, most recently Saudi Arabia in 2015.
And we didn't stop there. As soon as we had the vote, we started pushing for a new amendment.
Hear ye, hear ye. It is time for the reading of the amendment.
The Equal Rights Amendment.
That's right. Early this year, Virginia became the 38th and final state needed to ratify the 28th Amendment, granting equality to all women. Will it be added to the Constitution?
There's a whole lot of us naysayers trying to stop it.
Let's read it, shall we? Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. On account of sex. So much for so few words. It was shocking that a government of men could look with such extreme contempt on a movement that was asking nothing more than the simple little right to vote. But we shall someday be heeded, and everybody will think it was always so. Just exactly as many young people think that all the privileges, all the freedom, all the enjoyments which women today possess was always theirs. They have no idea that every single inch of ground that she now stands on was gained today by the hard work of some little handful of women from the past.
But Carrie, we all pass the torch on to someone else. What about you? Who will you pass it to?
Well, that's a good question, and we shall find out 100 years hence.
What a change will be made in politics, morals, religion, and trade, in statesmen who wrangle or ride on the fence. These things will be altered 100 years hence.
Our laws then will be non-compulsory rules, our prisons converted to national schools. The pleasure of singing, 'tis all a pretense, and the people will see it 100 years hence.
100 years hence, 100 years hence.
Lying, cheating, and fraud will be laid on the shelf. Men will neither get drunk nor be bound up in self. The pleasure of sinning 'tis a pretense. The people will see it 100 years hence.
When woman's part of man's equal shall stand, while beauty and harmony govern the land, to think for oneself will be no offense. The world will be thinking 100 years hence, 100 years hence, 100 years hence. Oppression and war will be heard of no more, when the blood of a slave had its print on our shore. Conventions will then be a useless expense. The world will be thinking 100 years hence, and instead of speech-making to satisfy wrong, or will join the glad chorus to sing freedom's song. And if the millennium is not a pretense, we all will be